Not too long ago, I did a video on the Spector Creative channel about some common pet peeves that we all as toy collectors have that are, kind of common. Things like figures not standing up, figures not come with the right accessories, figures that arrive unmint. Well, I want to do kind of the opposite of that today and talk about, one of the joys of toy collecting, and not just the acquisition of the toys. Obviously, that is the end game of what we're trying to do, right? Acquire as many toys as humanly possible. Although, do we ever stop and think about exactly what is the limit of this? Where are we going? What are we trying to get to? Is it that, he who dies with the most toys actually wins? God, I hope we're not trying to be buried with our toys like pharaohs in Egypt or something like that. But I think we all can agree that acquiring that giant, massive mound of toys for whatever line it is, whether it's Transformers, G.I. Joe, He-Man, Ninja Turtles, Star Wars, I could go on and on. I'm probably just naming some of the top brands here. But we are in the end trying to acquire that giant collection that is basically an expression of ourselves. That's why we collect, because seeing our collection brings us joy, and it represents the things that we are into and the things that make us happy. And that's kind of the whole point of a hobby. But in the last few years, a big part of the hobby has definitely been on the descent. And what I'm talking about is the toy run. Do you guys remember this? Who participated in one of these? Who made this part of their daily, weekend, weekly ritual? For a lot of us, this was the most fun part of the hobby. I mean, I suppose actually getting the toy was the most fun, but let's not discount this part. So what was the toy run for all of you newbie collectors out there? Well, it usually involved getting up a little bit earlier than you originally anticipated, especially on weekends. Heading out in your car at dawn, watching the sunrise, chugging down some coffee and donuts in the passenger seat. Maybe you were lucky enough to have a friend to go with you. Maybe this was something you did by yourself. And you would basically hit retailer after retailer after retailer. A lot of times the same retailer, different locations. You might even go to retail that you normally would not go into, that wouldn't be on your hit list, but if they had a end cap of toys, you'd hit them. Now, obviously, things have changed in the last decade, and a big part of that is home delivery with online services. Amazon, Walmart.com, Entertainment Earth, Big Bad Toy Store, Dorkside Toys. And while some of them require us to pay shipping, and some of them will give us free shipping, cleverly disguised as part of the purchase price, yes, they do this, well, a lot of times if you're going to order online, it will come months and months later than when a toy shows up at retail. And a big part of the joy of the toy run and of the hobby was acquiring the item first and finding it not only before your friends did, but driving around town and finding it before it was even available to ship from an online retailer. It's just the way distribution works. And at the end of a successful toy run, you could look over on the passenger seat, and there was your haul, your booty, your treasure. It was all worth it because you found a couple figures you were looking for. Maybe you didn't find anything at all. But toys are like trophies for us. A lot of us are not sports kids. Some of us might be. I was not. I tried them all. I really did. I was not a sports kid. And having action figures on our shelf instead of trophies is really that sense of accomplishment. And toy runs are kind of like the sports meet. It's when you go out and you compete against another team, meaning other collectors on the toy run, all for the goal of filling your shelves with trophies, figures that you find as the result of you going out and playing the game. So it did mean hitting a lot of retail locations. And a big part of the toy run's success was the fact that we had lots of retail locations. Fast forward to today in 2021 when I'm recording this, and for multiple reasons, coronavirus, the birth of the internet, retail has become a lonelier place. But when the toy run was in its heyday, I would say from about 1992 to 2010, wow, the joy, the surprise of finding something on shelf, maybe something you were looking for, maybe something you didn't even know was out, But that feeling, that immense smile on seeing a toy on shelf and being able to buy it yourself right then and there, not only did you have the ability to sometimes actually pick and choose which figure you wanted, you'd line them all up right there on the pegs on the shelf, look at them all carefully, find exactly the one that was perfect. The paint was perfect, the accessories were perfect, no limbs were twisted from ties. You could literally find the perfect specimen. And this is something you don't get from online shopping. If you buy online, you pretty much, get what you get, and you don't get upset, as they teach you in preschool, or at least as they taught my daughter in preschool. But when you did the toy run, all the power was with you, with the collector. You could sit there and you could review every single figure. You could look at how the eyes were done, how the lips were done, how the symbols on the belt were, and find the perfect version that you'd be able to take home. The idea of getting a figure with a messed up paint job was just not in the cards. Of course, there was always, if there was only one on the shelf and you just had to get it. And of course, the toy run often did have people buying things they didn't intend to buy just because they saw it. Hands up, who did that? But you could definitely line up multiple versions of the same figure and spend time looking at them to find the one that you wanted to take home and essentially put on your trophy shelf to show off that you had won the game. You had found the figure. And it might take multiple runs. It could take weeks, if not months. I remember there were a few waves of Star Wars Power of the Force figures that literally took months of toy running before I found them. That original helmetless Vader with Piet and Zuckuss, that wave in particular. And then there was that R2-D2 with hologram Leia that was one per case. It took a while. And if you were the first to find a new figure, the bragging rights, especially with the birth of the internet, that meant that you could go on message boards, on Facebook, on America Online, back when that was the way we communicated with each other, and showing an image of your latest finds, your haul from your hunt, if you will. Not only did you have the joy of running the toy run, but you had bragging rights. So it was like a double hit of dopamine. And it is and was fun. This was part of the toy hobby that a lot of collectors just loved. Hunting is in our nature as human beings. We've been doing it for tens of thousands of years. The toy hunt is just kind of the latest evolution. And while we have evolved to the point of now just using computers and, as keyboard warriors, typing in what we want and having it show up from Amazon or Walmart or Big Bad Toy Store, whoever, we choose, the fact that we don't have as many retail options anymore, that so many toy stores and stores that were just toy-specific retailers are no longer there, has really affected how the toy run works, as well as new retailers that are popping up that we may have never gone into before, but we now do because they carry toys. It's a brave new world out there. I really miss the toy run. It was a big part of the hobby I enjoyed. Maybe it'll come back, maybe it's done, but those were good times and great memories of being an action figure collector in the late 90s, early 2000s. Part of the hobby, part of what makes it fun. I hope this video was enjoyable and brought back some good memories for you. Maybe showed that you're not the only one that has some of these behaviors. Leave a comment below, subscribe and like. It tells YouTube to share this with other people. Thanks for watching.